Thank you for that direction, Chair. And one of the things that I'm wondering, Governor, you know that there is an audit every year. How is it not possible for you to have regular, like immediately expenses are incurred in the sub counties? Why can't you have, like, even if it is monthly, all these vouchers and copies of the receipts and other things being driven from those sub counties to the headquarters, so that the headquarters can have copies of these documents? By the time the auditor is coming to town, you have all these things from the sub county. But you can't just sit and then you say, oh, they were in Madera West. That one I don't think is acceptable in terms of an argument.
Now, members, I just want us to, because I'm seeing that these issues of unsupported expenditure, and there are about 5 of them in this report, if this is going to be the trend, then we're not going to be able to make a lot of sense in them. If it will just be the OAG telling us it's been resolved without that confirmation tendered, it's going to be difficult. Now, I want us to, with your indulgence, members, with your indulgence, we cannot sit here in Nairobi and pretend that we don't know about the humanitarian crisis in counties like Madera and a few counties up north. And I was reading the governor's responses, and I'd expected that in your opening narration, you would also address us on the drought situation in Madera. I've not seen that come up. Now, I want us to be alive to the suffering of people. I don't think the people of Madera at this point are very interested in finding out how vehicles were fixed. They are more interested in finding out how their animals will be rescued, how their children will go back to school, how water will reach them, how they will stay alive. And they are more interested in hearing the plans and the measures that the government of Madera and the national government has put in place to guarantee lives and to guarantee livelihoods. The things we do here in Nairobi must connect with the immediate and real needs of the people. And so I want to the indulgence members that if there was one thing that we must discuss, it is that situation. And our entry point into that conversation, so that your county attorney does not go to court like he did last time, challenging the directives of the committee that we are discussing matters are not before us, our entry point is a county emergency fund. So, Auditor General, you had made some observations on the county emergency fund, but before we get into the substantive matters that you have raised, I think it would be fair for the governor to appraise us on the situation, on the drought situation, and the fiscal implications, and really the real human situation. Because you can't just come to Nairobi to discuss motor vehicle repair vouchers. Governor, proceed.
Thank you, Chair, for that directive. I really concur with you. And that is actually the area I've been discussing for the last 1 month. So I have even numbers on my fingertip. I don't need even to refer to a note. As you have rightly said, we are going through a very devastating drought, I must say. And this is the 4th drought since I came to office. What that means is that it's like every year we go into a drought. And drought is no longer an emergency. Because we have been talking about drought emergencies. It's something that we can predict as a country and as a county. We had a long drought when I came in of August all the way to March 2023, August 22 to March 2023. We only had a break from March 23 to April 24, and then we had another 3 droughts. This means the 4th. And the worst thing about this current drought is about lack of pasture. Because it didn't rain, we received actually below average rain in March April, May of last year, and we did not even get totally rain in the October, November, December rain of 2025. So the pasture is completely depleted. So the biggest challenge is animals feed. So as a county, what we have been doing from last year, March, is actually February last year, we decided to focus on groundwater because we can no longer rely on surface water because of the climate change. So we invested in latest equipment and then trained our geologists and engineers, and we went out to do exploration in the entire Madera County. So far, we have surveyed 200 sites. We have drilled close to 40 something sites, with 35 being successful drilling because of the latest equipment. And we have already equipped over 30 boreholes in areas that has never had boreholes, because we were told and we believed that the entire western part of the county, from north all the way to Wajir border, by the successive regime, that there is no underground water in those areas. So those boreholes I'm mentioning, is 95% of them actually were done in those areas. A town like Banisa, sub-county headquarters, town like Kilowiri, a sub-county headquarters, town like Dandu, sub-county headquarters, were getting water for the first time, as Abito and so many others. So we have done, and with very little help from partners, especially, I think we got about support in equipping about 6 boreholes. All the rest, drilling and equipment and infrastructure structure were done by Madera County government. That's one. What that help us is we have reduced that water tracking site to settlement from 394 in 2002, 2003 to 204 this year, courtesy of those boreholes, including major towns. So currently, we are doing water tracking to 267 sites. 63 sites is for livestock, and 204 for settlement. Why are we doing water tracking when we have done such a number of boreholes? Is because of what I have said earlier, lack of pasture. So what we have done is we zone our grazing area where we think animals can survive for a few months along the Ethiopian border, along Wajir North border, and along Somali border, and then zone these pastoralists into 63 sites. So we are doing water tracking to 63 sites. That is on water. On education, from January 2023, because when I came in, I said it was one of the worst droughts in 40 years. And 70% of our livelihood, that's livestock, gone that time. We did an assessment, engaging the principals in December 2022, and the report we received was shocking, because they say if we don't intervene, then people or students or senior school students or secondary school students will not be reporting for schools in January 2023. So I did supplementary budget and then decided to pay school fees for all our secondary school going children. That is January 2023. We come up with a program called Ilimuka Water Program, where every child, irrespective of his or her family background, who get admitted to a government school within Madera County is paid for by Madera County government. I can report that that program is still on, and this year, I think it is in public domain, that the transition rate from grade 9 to grade 10 in Madera is actually leading in the country. If you look at our UNICEF report in 2001 and 2, UNICEF reported that over 365 school-going children are out of school in that county. But now we are leading. By the second week of reporting, 98% of our grade 10 learners are in class, courtesy of Elimu kwa wote. So on that one, we have really questioned the parent. When we get rains in March 2023, all the way to 24, the number of our heads in Madera County, the livestock population actually increased despite us coming through the droughts, the recycling droughts. And as by the end of last year, our animals population is at 5.8 million, about 3 million being goats, and then 900 camel, 800 cattle, and then about 170 something donkeys. That we can link it with the Elimu kwa wote program, because instead of selling animals and paying fees, we indirectly restocked the families, so the people, the communities in Madera. That's on education. And the second part on education is we have also been doing distributing Unimix to our early learners, pupils, PP1s and 2. I just launched 150 metric ton of Unimix, which is cooked across all our ECD centers, the 372 or 4 there. So that's on education. So the worst thing now, of course, on issues of drought, the vulnerable families, we did distribute about 16, we distributed relief food to about 16,000 households in November. That is about 16,000 households, translating to about 100 plus population. But currently, the number of people who are in need of food support, because we are almost in IPC4 in terms of food security, is about 400,000 people, because in December it was about 335, but the number will have reached about 400. Currently, we are doing targeting across all the sub-counties, combining the non-governmental organization, the county government, or at all level. And we want to target about 40,000 households, vulnerable, most vulnerable population, so that we distribute food ration to about 40,000 households within the next 3 weeks. We have also got support from the national government, about 4 trucks of rice per sub-county. I said it's little, but better than nothing. We have promised that the similar amount of beans will follow. I don't know when. So on relief distribution, so we are targeting about 40,000 households within Madera, and mostly the most vulnerable people. In partnership with World Food Program, they have just released cash transfer to about 7,992 households, each household getting about 6,000 for 3 months. Similar support we go through an organization called Rasida for about 9,000 households, getting between 6,000 to 12,000 per month for 3 months. So what we have done is through the county steering group, we decided to have a working steering group so that we do a proper intervention and mitigation of the drought, and then avoid duplication. So the mapping we are doing, even for the World Food Program, we did it as a team, including even the national government administrators on the ground, the communities, the religious leaders, women leaders, youth leaders, and everybody on board. So in terms of food security, I can say we will manage with the challenges we have, but the biggest challenge now is animals feed. We have just we decided to, in consultation with food security system, food security resilience program, CFSRP, that we need to do go into buying, procuring feed for animals. We are partnering with the national government because they said they will support us in transport, so that these pellets, when it reaches Madera, can be subsidized completely before even the market price. And then we have a committee at every ward. They're called CDDC, which is going to manage that, and to avoid people who are wealthy to buy everything. We are doing targeting for all the ladders across the county, so that we have an inventory of all our ladders, and then we now even control how people are going to buy those pellets. With support of National Drought.
I hope you're winding down.
Yes, in support of National Drought Monitoring Authority, they are delivering about 8,050 kg bags of pellets. We are also doing the targeting, and we are reaching out to several other partners. And if we can avail food for animals, then we can mitigate this drought. But the biggest challenge now is animal feed, and we thank there are a few partners who are on board, who are really supporting, but 90% of the support is actually coming from Madera County government. Finally, on animals also, we are also supporting them in veterinary services, because the animals are weaker now, and they require at least support in terms of veterinary services. Thank you.
Is this an emergency situation, or it's a business as usual situation?
It's an emergency situation.
Fine. Let's go to what the law requires. Auditor General, what was your observation on the emergency fund?
Thank you, Chair. This was also observation: failure to operationalize emergency fund. The statement of financial performance reflects payments of other grants and subsidies amount to Kenya shillings 888,302,758, comprising of Kenya shillings 459 million, Kenya shillings 382, and Kenya shillings 55 million in respect of scholarship under the educational benefits, emergency relief and refugee assistance, and purchase of seedlings, respectively. However, the payments on emergency relief and refugee assistance include an amount of Kenya shilling 32,846,226 on water tracking, and an amount of Kenya shilling 349,501,000 on supply and delivery of relief items for vulnerable members of the society. The expenditure ought to have been incurred through the emergency fund. The county executive established Madera County Emergency Fund through Section 4 of the Madera County Emergency Fund Act 2020 to enable payments to be made when an urgent and unforeseen need for expenditure arises for which there is no specific legislative authority. The executive did not set aside funds in the annual budget for the emergency fund as required by Section 5 of the Madera County Emergency Fund Act 2020. Thank you, Chair.
Governor, you may respond.
Thank you, Chair. The management established the County Emergency Fund Act in 2020 and has undertaken its operationalization in line with the provisions of Public Finance Management Act 2012. In the financial year under review 24-25, an allocation was made in supplementary budget towards the fund to facilitate the establishment of the necessary legal and administrative structures. Full implementation and utilization of the County Emergency Fund commenced in the financial year 25-26, and all the requisitive structures and compliance measures are fully in place. We have the Emergency Fund Act, the abstract of the financial year 25-26, and approved program-based budget, bank account opening letter, and fund requisition for the same. So our emergency fund is now fully operationalized, Chair. Thank you.
Now, before we even go to the broader issues, you are saying that in this financial year, an allocation was made in the supplementary budget to facilitate the establishment of necessary legal and administrative structures. How much was that allocation?
For last year was to introduce a line so that we do the other legal framework, but this financial year, we have fully operationalized and we have
No,
two.
Governor, you're referring to 24-25, which is a year under review. Can you demonstrate the allocation that was made to the fund?
Last year, the other last year was a small line. I think
How much? How much is that small line?
Just tell us how much was it.
I think it was around 3 million we provided for establishment of the structures, office and whatever.
Where is it? Because that then would be a transfer to the fund. Can we see it in this financial statement?
We did not do it in the fund because the fund
So there was
has
no
a clear
fund,
purpose, but we have
was it-
provided that line
Just
in
a
the
minute,
budget.
Just a minute. So what you're saying is not correct because you're saying that you just set up 3 million to establish the fund. It's not like the fund was financed in 24-25.
The fund has specific activities to do. What we did,
We are
we
talking
provided
about
3 million.
the financing of the fund as a starting point. There are many issues. Let's
Yes.
just start from there. Was a fund financed in 24-25?
No,
So this statement here, where you are saying an allocation was made towards the fund, is not accurate.
we did. It's in the budget. Then we can provide on time.
No, there's no other time. This is a time.
What we did is we provided 3 million in our budget last financial year to operationalize the fund. For you to have the fund, you need to have structures, Mr. Chair, which we did, and the fund now is fully operational.
Waziri, you are the one who's going to delay your prayer by being long-winded.
Okay.
What we want to confirm is that in the year under review, the fund was established, and establishment of the fund is not just legislation, it is financing it. You have said here, in the financial year under review, an allocation was made in the supplementary budget towards the fund. That is the evidence we want. If it is not there, we expunge it. Because if this is true, then we can agree with you that the fund has been established, operationalized, and money has been put in it. Is that the case, Governor?
I think let's to be honest, we started the process, but it was not operationalized in that financial year.
So that is a fact.
Right.
Fine. So you have described the situation as an emergency, and it is a very sorry situation, and we feel for the people of Madera. And you see, there are a lot of conversations going on about residents of counties up north who face challenges that residents in counties in the middle of the country or western of the country or southern of the country do not face. And if we don't discuss these things honestly, we might build a society where we are comparing fingers and expecting them to be of the same length. The challenges you are facing are unique, but you also need to respond to them lawfully, and you also need to respond to them creatively. You have given us a number of interventions: water tracking, digging of wells, elimu kwa wote, Unimix, relief food to 40,000 households, cash transfers, and very many nice interventions. How do you ensure that these interventions are effectively implemented? Because situations keep unfolding. At the time you are budgeting, you had budgeted for 2.4 billion under that line, isn't it?
For emergency, it was 290.
Sorry?
292 million for emergency fund.
292.
92.
Well, I'm looking at your total budget under other grants and subsidies. It was 2.4 billion.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the line for emergency.
For emergency, it was 290.
292.
So it means you even spent more, because what the auditor cited is almost 300 million. So in the absence of an emergency fund, how agile can you be to respond to things as they unfold?
Chair, that's why I said this financial year, we have operationalized our emergency fund account, requisition, opening of bank account, everything is there.
That's okay. We
Yeah.
shall see that in the next financial statement.
Yeah.
What
So-
is the reason why this provision that was in the PFM, has been in the PFM for the last 10 years, has been in your laws since 2020, What is the reason why you have not seen it fit to establish it? And yet year after year, you have these situations.
I really don't have a specific answer, but you know, in counties in northern Kenya, we have a lot of competing interests. I mean, in terms of project, we have about 525 centers. Each of them requires water, basic education, health, and of course the structural construction we have seen, we have come a long way in putting up structures even for the county government, because we could not have anything to inherit from the previous the defunct local authorities. But I agree with you, this should have been done earlier than this year.
And for your information, you indicated your budget was 290. The auditor here cites you spent 349 million on
292 was this financial year,
which one? 24, 25?
and 526.
No. Why don't you give us a number for the year that we are considering?
I said we never had an emergency fund. So if it's water, it's down
No,
to
no. Yeah. You had a budget for supply and delivery of relief food, isn't it?
Yes.
What was that budget in 2024, 2025?
How much is it? Yeah, we had it under special program department, and I think it's about 349 plus, I think some carried forward from the previous year.
Yeah, so honorable members, I think let's discuss this, because this is like a black hole when it comes to expenditure by counties. If it's put in a fund, then there's a fund administrator. Then the fund administrator is held responsible and accountable. Then there are financial statements for that fund. If it's put as a line budget item, then it becomes fungible, and it is very difficult to know who got the, you call it Unimix or Ujimix? Ujimix. It's very difficult to know who got a truck of water. It's very difficult to know which animals got the feed. We had a county where the governor procured feed for wild animals because he said that the county relies on tourist revenue. And so they spent a few hundreds of millions and threw the food in the park. I think Senator Dulo is very aware of that particular case. How do you track that? Because if you don't track it, if you don't have transparency, then you will have the accusations and allegations that people are making that the Uji mix and the feed and the water tracking are the apartments in Nairobi. So we must have clarity. So, Senator Cherate.
Chair, thank you. I think while we empathize with the situation up north, we must also be honest with the resources we receive. Because you look at page 25 on your financial statements, Governor, emergency relief and refugee assistance was 382,347,226. Of course, the scholarship you have indicated, I think 459 million. Then there was purchase of seedlings of 55 million, totaling 898,302,758. This is not number 11 on other grants and subsidies. One question I would ask, why, as noted by the OAG, that this fund, one, was never operationalized, the Madera County County Emergency Fund Act 2020. One was never operational. Then number two, I have looked at the annexures you are provided. You are provided program-based allocation of 2025-2026, but I'm not seeing it under the year under review of 2024-2025 that the funds were set aside. Number two, in this 382 million that was made for emergency relief services, Governor, you have broken down what you have done, including what partners have done, water tracking, the issue of subsidy program for food, the issue of water tracking, the support to pasture to farmers. But here there is no breakdown on the aspect of how this 382 million plus on emergency relief services was done. So that is number two. And I request, Governor, you know, all of us are human beings, if you can note down so that I don't need to come back again to ask. And finally, Chair, looking at all this, and I think this one on the seedlings, what kind of seedlings were you purchasing of 55 million? Is it 3 seedlings? Is it the one maize seedlings, for example, or any other? What did it mean? This 55 is a vague line, and you have told us you are experiencing drought. So what kind of seedlings were you purchasing during dry season? I thought in terms of priority, this 55 million should have been done maybe for water tracking, for food support program, and even mapping. Finally, sorry for taking long. The issue, you have said in 2023, it was worse drought than when you came to office. Now you're having similar challenges. And you are still discussing on how you want to map, including cash transfer programs and many other issues. It means when the drought subsides, you leave it at that, because the last 4 years, why don't you present before this committee and tell us, even if this law is in place, this is the plan that we have adopted to handle situations of emergency, especially on drought, so that we can be on the same page with you. So apart from this committee that you are saying, is this a committee that is periodic? Is it a committee that is in place that has given you innovative? Can you give us something innovative and creative, as the chair has asked, on how you handle this situation? Chair, with those 4 questions, I yield back.
Thank you. Senator Gattai.
Thank you, Chair. You know, where I come from, we have a similar situation like Mandela, though not that extreme. I come the lower parts of Dharaka. Dharaka is equally facing some serious drought issues. But of course, Chair, we have put some long-term mitigation, how we handle drought whenever we have such a case. So in this case now, because, you know, Governor, you have been around for some time, you have just confessed that this is not the first time that you are facing drought in your tenure. This is the 4th time. Do you have any policy? Do you have mitigation arrangements that are permanently put in place to manage drought crisis that maybe, you know, these things are just unforeseen? Do you have something permanent maybe somebody can back on?
Yep. Governor, you may respond to the 4 raised by Senator Cherargei and the last one by Senator Gattai before Senator Sifuna comes in.
I just want to start with my brother Senator. There is no permanent solution for this. The only solution for drought mitigation in northern Kenya is by availing animals feed, which requires heavy investment in water, so that we have feedlots where millions of acres are put under irrigation, and if it doesn't rain, then we have enough hay in our store. We have done several engagement with national government, including the head of state, and we are even looking at the regional issues around Dawa River, because the only source of water we have is Dawa River. Currently, we have started what we call Dawa River Basin Development Initiative, which is an advanced stage. And we have engaged Ethiopia, and we're actually going there again towards mid of next month to finalize on bilateral agreement, because the water along Dawa River traverses three countries. So what we are doing is to have a damming along Dawa River upstream, so that we harvest millions of liters of water. Because the unfortunate thing about our river is if it rains in Ethiopian islands, or even in Madera or in Kenya, then swap all the irrigation, the farms along the river, going to waste. It's like every other time we start again all over, including our water assets along the river. So, and then if it dries like this time, it dries up. So like right now, there's no water in our river. So doing damming up there to a height of about 90-meter wall will be able to, one, to control the floods along the river, two, make sure that the water flows throughout the year along the river, and then put all those farms under irrigation in areas of fodder, fodder production. That is the only way we can address drought in Northern Kenya, not through any other thing. And through in the Department of State, Department of Agriculture, we have also done to do something in the western part of the country where we have 2 lagers coming all the way from Ethiopia to see how we can also do a mini pan or dam in one of the area, although the area is a bit flat, and in flat area damming is becoming a bit of challenge. So the permanent solution to drought mitigation is providing animals feeds to the pastoralists, saving their livelihoods. Relief food is not a solution, it's just an emergency intervention. Water tracking is not a solution. If we could have had fodder today, we would not have been water tracking to 63 sites because we will have allowed animals to come to the watering point. So that is the long-term solution. It requires support of the national government and partners. World Bank have shown interest in that. We had a meeting on Monday with the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Actually, will be leading the delegation. So our focus now is how do we harvest water so that we put several thousands of acres under irrigation, especially on fodder production. Because if we get fodder for livestock, the issue of poverty, the issue of drought will have been things of past. Coming to Senator Sifuna's
Sifuna has not yet spoken.
Yeah, and he's my friend. Maybe I started with him. And also Senator Chere is also a friend of mine. And they call themselves pastoralists when they are not, sometime on Ajita or Pugaji. So on him, I think he has asked several questions.
Stop provoking my members.
But Chair,
You
we
will
are
land in a lot
pastoralists.
of problems. Just go straight to the audit query.
On the budgeting, in fact, we had an emergency, a cabinet meeting on executive committee meeting on emergencies. In fact, if you look at the cost of intervention, is huge. Even the numbers we are measuring here is not going to be enough. But we have people who are very, very compassionate, and they even sometimes extend us a wait for us even when we give them service and pay a little money, and then they can wait for us to pay them later years. But these numbers, if we talk of the education, if we talk of the primary school feeding, if we talk of water tracking, if we talk of borehole, is actually very little compared to what we are doing. But I can assure you, we have no laxity of buying feeds for wildlife. Our problem is huge. We are struggling with how to save our livelihood, which is a livestock. So I can confirm that we have been very prudent in our way of managing things, and we have really tried our best to make sure that lives and livelihood of our people are safe. Thank you.
Auditor General, just to maybe to deal with the specifics, because I think we have spent too much time on the broad policy interventions. This is an accountability meeting. OAG, you have reported that the county spent 32.8 million on water tracking. Can you give us the assurance that this 32.8 million from your analysis was spent on water tracking? Your job is to give us an assurance. And when you're giving us an assurance, tell us the test that you carried out. You have also told us that 55.9 million was spent on seedlings in a county that has perennial drought situations.
What type of seedlings?
Can you give us the assurance that the 55.9 million worth of seedlings are traceable, and tell us the test that you carried out? You have also reported that 349 million was spent on relief food items. Give us the assurance and tell us the test that you carried. If you assure us, we will move to the next issue.
Chair, can I add also to Patrick? Also, with the cash transfers, there is a cash transfer of 12 million to elderly. Can he give us the test on how that cash transfer of 12 million was achieved? And to add on seedlings, which kind of seedlings are these?
Okay, so let's deal with the numbers first. Let's just get this assurance from the OAG, because if the OAG gives us an assurance, then we have very limited room to doubt.
Thank you, Chair. What was the first assurance?
that 32.8 million spent on water tracking, that you are able to see the documentation and you are able to carry out some tests to confirm that 32.8 million indeed was spent on water tracking. The next one was 55.9 million spent on seedlings. You just give us the assurance on the test you carried, the 12 million on cash transfers, and the 349 million on relief food items.
Yeah, maybe out of ignorance, one would be interested to know what kind of farming is practiced in Mandela.
Sorry, Senator?
I mean, out of, maybe I don't know, one would be interested to know what kind of farming is practiced in Mandela.
Can I?
No, you will respond. Let the Auditor General first deal with the facts, then you will respond.
Thank you, Chair. For the issue of water tracking, we did the analysis. We looked at even from the procurement point of view, how the water tracks were sourced, if they were delivered, but on a sample basis. So we're able to have the numbers of the vehicles that tracked and the recipients. And that was our test. That was there need for water tracking? Is there a need? How are the water tracks sourced? And was the water delivered to the intended purpose?
Seedlings?
Seedlings?
55.9 million of seedlings?
Okay.
This is in your report. This is in your report. They are not figures that we have come up with. Actually, it's in the governor's report. So really, it's the governor who should respond, but he might tell us stories. You are the one who provides assurance. So give us that assurance.
Thank you, Chair. Again, for the seedlings, we use the same process. How were the seedlings sourced and the need for the same. Again, this would not do 100%, it's just on a sample basis. We could look at an item. Was there need for the count to purchase the seedlings? How was it procured? And then finally, how was it delivered? And we did a test check because somebody could call one of the recipients just to confirm. Some were positive, as calls went unanswered.
You're just making calls because seedlings is something you need to see. 55 million worth of seedlings is how many seedlings? Governor, 55 million worth of seedlings, that would be how many?
Can I respond to all?
No. I think it's almost, we just need to be specific. I wanted to release you at 1 to go for prayer, but we might spill over a little bit. So 55 million worth of seedlings, how many were they?
I don't have the numbers, but I can tell the question that what type of farming.
No, don't answer that. Deal with 55 million worth of seedlings.
We have seedlings we supply to farmers along the river, all the way from BP1 to Malkamari, that is one, all types of seeds, maize, and then the vegetables.
Governor, maize does not come from seedlings.
Yeah, he's a prolific maize eater.
We are talking about seedlings.
You know, it's the coding. It's the coding. All the farm products we put under.
If the purchase is seedlings, it cannot be maize seedlings.
Yeah, let's not offend maize.
Okay.
Usiguze mrima.
Nisiguze mahindi.
Usiguze mahindi. Just tell us, ini seedlings gani ya 55.9 million in a drought-ravaged county? That's the interest that we want to find out.
One time I said during the rains, and even when there's no rains along our river, we farm. I'm sure those of you who have visited Madera have seen that. Including the schemes, the BP1, we have the BP1 scheme, the RSA scheme, the Chantolet schemes, all those schemes we give them seeds.
So if, for example, we left Nairobi to come and oversight the 55.9 million worth of seedlings, where do we find them? In the river?
Along the river.
So we just walk along the river, any tree that is growing
Not
is
tree.
a seedling from the county.
No, not really the farms and the schemes. We have schemes.
Okay, so OG, OG, so how did you go about confirming that 55.9 million was indeed spent on seedlings?
Thank you, Chair. As I said, it was up basis, but teams went out, even to the schemes.
Yeah.
And from the report, the seedlings were there.
Interesting, these seedlings of 55 million plus, 55.9 million plus quickly. You know, OAG and the governor, you must give us numbers. Because, and you know, we have agreed maize comes from seed. Some of us, we farm maize, akina Sifuna ndio wanakula. That is, and they eat it very well. I know the time is very serious now. The point I'm trying to make, is it fruit seed? How many farmers? How many acreage? You know, that is the answer we are just looking for.
We have over 6,000 registered farmers. We have it in our inventory. Farmers across Madera County, both riverlines and rainfields. But the seed and the seedlings, let me put it like that, I'm not a farmer, so I should be forgiven, is we give them all the schemes. They do maize, they do the potatoes, all types of farming along the river.
Governor, we must we must look at the compass. In accounting, seed are defined as biological asset.